Hey, Rado.
Hey Connor, hi. How
So
are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Great, great.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me this. Are you looking forward to Christmas this year?
Christmas.
Yeah.
I, I,
Are
I.
okay. Are you a big Christmas fan?
To be honest, never been. In the past, just kind
Hmm.
of those 2 days you kind of look forward to, and 2 days, 3 days, depending what you're doing. Last few years I've been just working.
Mm-hmm.
Like very like around Christmas, so nothing to look forward to. But I've been enjoying it more and more, for many reasons. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a big Christmas fan. Christmas is definitely my favorite time of the year. Like I like Halloween an awful lot too, but um, Christmas in terms of like the festivities are definitely my favorite time of the year. Like I enjoy like the Christmas trees and the lights and like just the general sort of like joy that is sort of forced upon you in a way. But I, all in all, I still think it's a really like nice time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Despite all of the like the sort of commercialism and the negative things that come with it, I just enjoy the season itself. Now, once it's over, like I mean, like as soon as you kind of get past like the 26th, the 27th of December, I very much I'm like, okay, like time to move on. Like I want the sun to come out. I want it to be summer now. Like I'm done with all of this. But that's the crap thing is you got like 2, 3, or 4 months of just kind of like dragging on through the kind of cold weather here and just general misery of the
Yeah.
start of the year, But there's just something about Christmas where everything sort of feels like it's drawing to a close, and I do think that this year Christmas will be obviously it'll be very strange for a whole platitude of reasons, but I just think that it's probably more important this year that people try and have a really good Christmas. Even if like it's just like the festivities and not a religious thing or anything like that, which for me is very much the case. But I just think this year it's like it's going to be super important. So I fully intend this year on trying to like do as much as possible. Like I'm gonna like try to do like multiple Christmas movies every week for sure. We're gonna have like a Christmas tree up if I can get it. Our house doesn't really have the space for one this time around. Enya and I have always like we're like big advocates for the real Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't quite have the space this year, so I'm trying to figure it out. Like, how can I do it? Maybe I can like hang it from the roof upside down or something. I don't know. We'll get creative and see how it goes.
Are you gonna decorate your house like Griswold style in National Lampoon's holiday?
That I do love when I see houses like that, and I love the National Lampoons as well. So like that, I think we're going to probably do a Christmas episode at some point. I'm certain that's going to make its way onto my list, but I'm thinking of ideas already with like the Philips Hue light bulbs and stuff like that I can do. Like, I'm usually fairly reserved, but I feel like this year it's kind of important, so I'm going to try and push my boundaries a little bit this year and come up with some kind of wild or fun ideas to make it feel very Christmassy. I don't know, maybe like when I come home I can run like an automation where like the lights go red and the home pods play Christmas music and stuff like that automatically. Just the little things. Just the little things, but I think
You
they
know
mean a
what?
lot.
It's a blessing that I'm like this year. Pretty much a lot of places are closed, and I don't have to go to shopping
Mm-hmm.
malls or anything like that. And I don't hear the Christmas music being played in November because that was kind of upsetting me and annoying me. I mean, December is fine. I think December is pretty much like in Poland. We used to would have like the St. Nicholas Day or Santa Claus Day
Mm-hmm.
on the 6th of December. And from that day, essentially, is like just preparing for Christmas. Like everything is Christmassy. But November, never. Like it's such a kind of American and Western way of doing things
Mm-hmm.
that I like. I still can't get my head around that. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I think it's this year is super important. But it might be difficult for for some people to have the same Christmas like they used to have, like with the family around
Yeah.
and maybe going places. I know for us it's going to be super difficult to get everyone in the same place. Like for the last few years, we've been either in Poland or we've been in Spain where the families live. And it's been great, like having everyone together. But this year it might not be possible. And that thought is a little bit upsetting. That's why I'm maybe not looking forward to it because I think I will survive. I enjoy the solitude if we have to stay home, but I know my girlfriend's going to be struggling with it quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I think this year has a potential for a lot of people to be very unique and special Christmas, and I hope it works out. But you are right. Like, there's definitely there's the positive of not having to go like Christmas shopping in terms of like not hearing the music and everything. But at the same time, I've been thinking an awful lot as I'm kind of preparing to do my like Christmas shopping about all of these like stores and places that can't open or can't sell, and even if they can, like, they're not really getting the footfall through the door that this time of the year for so many businesses would have been absolutely pivotal. It would have been the time of year that kept them going throughout the rest of the year, and it is sad to think of what might happen to many of them. So I'm like doing my best to kind of like, what can I do to purchase more or from those local places, or donate to some of them as well, if that even if I'm not buying from a store, or can I just buy from a store for items that aren't necessarily gifts for other people, just the local ones. And trying to, like, I don't want to say I'm trying to stay away from Amazon, because I use Amazon for so many things, despite all of the reasons inside of me of which I loathe using them. But so I don't want to say like, oh, I'm not using Amazon for anything this year, but I'll try my best where possible to check out some like local places and local artists and stuff like that are making things and selling them to just get by. So I don't know, that sounds very dire and very down, but ultimately I think that Christmas is going to be super important for a lot of people this year, and I really, really hope that I can have a very good Christmas, and that other people can have a very, very good Christmas in some fashion or other.
Is it the lead up to what you're trying to say is we're going to prepare like a Christmas special for episode for like our favorite Christmas movies?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do it at some point. We haven't really figured out when in December we will release it. Do we do it at the very start so that you have recommendations to follow along with, or do we do it like, week by week or whatever, or we have a new one to talk about? I don't know. We haven't figured it out, but
Connor, we all figured it out. I think in the future it's all clear. Right now might not be, but in the future it's all nice and clear. Okay, this is the Christmas kind of teaser. Let's go on and start the show.
Yeah, so now I want to talk about office chairs.
You haven't finished.
I'm joking. But I was going to talk about office chairs, by the way. I spent an awful long time like deliberating back and forth over what chairs to buy now that I'm working from home. But I decided let's talk about Christmas instead.
Thank you, Connor. I appreciate it. Oh, God. Right.
You ready?
I was born ready.
Hello and welcome to The Blockbusters, a podcast about the wonderful world of cinema and TV. This is a podcast about movies we love, about the TV shows we love, no matter how big, no matter how small. My name is Rado, and with me is Connor Boyle. Hi, Connor.
Hello.
Today we're gonna have an episode about some news. As usual, we're gonna be discussing what's been happening in the world of the cinema. We will briefly touch on what we have been watching recently, and we'll have review of just two things, but apparently Connor has quite a lot to say about it. It's The Mandalorian, continuing Season 2, Episode 3 and Episode 4, and we're gonna talk about a new Steve McQueen movie, Mangrove, which is a movie or a TV series. I'm lost because this is like a miniseries, small acts, but the first episode of that is about 2 hours. So maybe it's just, I don't know, both.
Yeah, I was the same. I really struggled to figure out what this was, because initially you had asked me to watch it, and I was like, oh, it must be like a series. But the best way I've seen it described is an anthology series of movies. So yeah, it's like a series of movies that Steve McQueen has just seemingly directed them all, which seems like a huge project to undertake. like absolutely crazy. But he's been working on it since at least 2014. But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what, Connor? I think after last episode, I come to terms with the style of the show, of the Blockbusters podcast.
Yeah.
Because I've been battling and I've been trying to press you as well, myself, and trying to constrain what we talk about and how much we talk about and how long is the episode. And I think I give up. Because for every week we discuss it, let's make it brief and let's make it, I don't know, short and let's make it snappy. Sometimes it is impossible to make it snappy, and sometimes we just want to talk a little bit more about something that is important to us. Sometimes you will hear maybe me talking for 2 minutes and that's it, and the subject is closed because Connor is not listening, or maybe I'm not listening to him. But I think I just gave up. Whatever the length is, it is. We might feel like talking for 30 minutes and that will be great. I don't think it will happen anytime soon. But we might feel like talking for 2 hours, but we hopefully keep you guys all entertained. And what I wanted to say, thank you for staying with us. Thank you for listening. It's something we enjoy doing. If you like our show, just hit that like button or give us 5 stars or 4.5 if you can on the Apple
we're
Podcast.
only accepting 5s.
We're only accepting 5s. Christmas is coming, so be generous.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening. Stay, subscribe, rate, and recommend our show. We'll tell you more about where you can find us towards the end of the show. But I wanted to start with something you actually texted me about, Connor. And I was, first of all, I just opened the message you sent me, and you were kind of annoyed with this. I thought to myself, oh my God, he's complaining about a movie that's definitely not his kind of cup of tea. It's probably that maybe something my girlfriend's gonna enjoy. But then I watched the trailer and you sent me kind of reactions. That's why when we opened the episode, I was trying to speak. Now I'm doing Scottish. I was trying to kind of put my accent into Northern Ireland. Maybe I would be really good in the new movie called Wild Mountain Thyme. Wild Mountain Thyme. So this is a movie that's starring a few famous people in there. So what do we have? Emily Blunt and Jamie Dornan. He's from Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And we have John Hamm in there. Who else? Remind me.
Christopher Walken.
And Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And this this trailer, if you've been on Twitter recently, you've probably seen everyone slaying this left, right, and center because of not only that the accents are, even for my ear, because like I might hear that this is a sort of Irish accent, but even for my ear, those accents are not from Ireland. Even Jamie Dornan is just like pointless. Like, what is this? And this also has all the stereotypes you have about the island. Oh, they live in the countryside. They love potatoes. Oh, they're so nice and people. And there's the little men lying around. Oh my God, what's happening? Oh, it's at the end of the rainbow. Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
it's horrible. I thought you just gonna want to be talking about it, but I see your face. You're quite sad.
This was infuriating, I think, is the word for this this fucking trailer. So yeah, I obviously don't speak with an Irish accent, so I don't, because I'm from the north, and even then I don't speak with a particularly like heavy Northern Ireland accent as well, which is like, particularly like harsh on the ears. That some people claim that they love it, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea. So I kind of like beat it out of myself when I was like young. I was like, I don't want to sound like this, and now I have this weird mismatched accent. I think that's what people keep telling me, but yeah, like the Southern Irish accent is obviously like famous around the world for being like a brilliant accent to have, and sometimes it's very thick and it's hard to understand and so on and so forth. But it's also one of those accents that is so badly attempted in Hollywood so often. Another big example of this that comes to mind in a movie that's very similar to this one, I think, was P.S. I Love You. If you remember Jared Butler.
Never watched that.
Yeah,
I'm not the target audience.
Yeah, no, like I don't blame you, and thank your lucky stars you've never actually seen this movie because it sucks. But he plays a dead Irishman in it, I think, and he keeps leaving letters or something like that to his wife or fiance or girlfriend. I can't remember what the hell she is, but Jared Butler speaks with like a thick Irish accent in this, and it just is atrocious the whole way through it. It just always sounds like a parody, like it sounds like a comedy, like someone's making fun of the accent. And this movie is no different. Like all of these people, including Jimmy Dornan. Now Jimmy Dornan should have an accent closer to mine, so he should but they have him acting with like a Southern Irish accent, and it's just so bad. His sounds even worse than some of the other people there, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, how can you not at least have like how in your life have you not been able to like be around people with an accent like that and not be able to kind of replicate it more convincingly than what you're doing? Oh my God. And
or maybe just play the Northern Irish accent.
Why not?
That's going to be easier, right? It's just around the border and no one's going to notice.
Yeah,
it's infuriating.
terrible.
You know?
It's terrible. And you're right. Like it's almost that like, where's the potatoes, Mary? With the potatoes. We've got like, it's like that is like the level of which like they are like parroting the entire island of Ireland. It's just like everybody lives in cottages and they all farm for a living, and the women are only allowed to be with men by arranged marriage. That's just it's ludicrous.
Ireland is this beautiful mystical place behind the rainbow, and pretty much it's taken out of time, and it's always green there. I mean, definitely is green, but I think the only kind of good thing about this is John Hamm is not. He's playing American.
Thank God.
I can imagine him speaking with like an Irish accent. That would have been even worse than that. So that movie is going to be released in the US in this beginning of this December. So we're looking forward to hear.
It's a hard pass from me.
I'm looking forward to hear what the people will have to say about the Wild Mountain Thyme.
Welcome to Ireland. Once upon a time, there were two farms. The Lampoon farm, where Rosemary lived, and right down the road was my farm, where my son Anthony asked his lonely question of the stars.
Why did you make me so?
Rosemary Muldoon besotted with love.
There's these green fields, and there's us. Whatever that is, it holds me here.
When he says those things...
It's not normal.
I don't care.
You take after John Kelly, and that man was mad as the full moon. Drowned himself.
He fell in.
He had a rock tied to his neck.
Rosemary, we're known to each other quite a while now. Would you marry me?
Are you going to leave the farm, Anthony?
I don't see a clear path.
From where to where?
From me to you.
My cousin is coming. What do you think?
It's the finest car I've ever seen.
Get out from the farm to an American.
I'm waiting for that one.
What are you waiting for?
Me, I don't wait.
I do like that.
You should come to New York sometime.
One thing we've learned this passing days or week is that Wonder Woman 1984 will be released in the US, not only in the cinemas, but at the same time it will go straight to streaming. It will be on the HBO Max. We are quite lucky in the UK. This movie, if cinemas will be open in England or Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, we should have it playing in the cinemas. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think we've been talking about it for at least 6 months right now, that this is the movie I really wanted to see in the cinema. So it's going to be mid-December when this movie is going to be released in the theaters in all other places except for the US. The US is going to be just before Christmas time, and it's going to hit HBO Max as well, which is a shame, I think, on one hand, because it's going to be definitely one of those big movies you really want to enjoy in the theater. You can, if you read what Patty Jenkins said, the director of the movie, what she said about it, it's like, okay, this is essentially, we didn't have much choice. We wanted to have it released for people to see it, but at least they don't do what Disney did. So Disney just released it in digital and just forget about the audience in the cinemas. At least Warner is trying to play it to the cinemas advantage, and release it in the theaters as well.
Yeah, I think that Warner, are just based off the back of Tenet, they still think that there is money to be made in cinemas overseas outside of the US. I do think that this is probably out of some of, like, much like Tenet, like probably one of the movies that really deserve to be on a big screen as much as possible, and be seen on a big screen, just because visually it looks like it's going to be quite the treat, just based off even the posters and stuff like that, with all the kind of color. And I think this would have been a great movie for people to see on a big screen. So it's going to be a shame that not only for people in the US will they have to watch it on HBO Max, but HBO Max limits out at 1080p as well. There is no 4K streaming. There is no HDR or Dolby Vision or anything like that. It's just like, it's the bare minimum of what a streaming service will provide. So I'm sure that's got to be also a little frustrating or disappointing to Patty Jenkins and her team, because they've seemed to have crafted a movie that, while I don't personally think that it looks like a great movie, I do think visually it looks really cool, with the exception of Kristen Wiig's character and the CGI around it. I wonder will they go back and fix that, by the way. Just quick off topic, right? Have you seen the CGI renderings of Kristen Wiig's character?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and they're really bad looking. And given that the movie has had like 6 months extra, you would think that they'd be like, we'll go back in and like let's make it even better looking now, because why not? I wonder will they do that? I doubt it, because the last time we seen a trailer, the movie should have already been out. The last time we seen a trailer, it should have been and gone. So I highly doubt it. But yeah, look, I hope we get to go see this in the cinema. I would like to go see this one in the cinema. Our cinemas here are still closed, I believe. So it's not looking super likely, because we're about to head into another full lockdown from next week. So I'm not full of hope that I'll get to see this one in the cinema, which also means then that I won't be able to stream it, because as far as I know, it's just HBO. They're not doing like a digital release on iTunes or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So following on from HBO and Warner Brothers deciding that they're going to put this out to stream, there's been a lot of talk about what Disney are going to do then with a lot of their movies coming up now as well. So we got confirmation, first of all, that Wandavision is coming out on January 15th.
Are you excited? Are you excited, Connor?
I'm very much excited about it, Rado. I have to tell you, I think that
So I am. Imagine I am someone who is like my girlfriend. I said to her Wandavision, and she was like, blank stare. What is that? Could you tell me what Wandavision is?
Wandavision is the Disney Plus series following on from Wanda Maximoff and Vision in the MCU movies. So obviously we know that Vision died in one of the
spoilers!
sort of final movies. Yeah, if there's anybody left on planet Earth who has not yet seen Infinity War, spoilers for Vision's fate. So this movie is kind of parroting sort of like sitcoms, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s sitcoms have all been kind of parodied. It's hard to tell yet whether or not like each episode is going to be set in a different sort of time period, but it looks a lot of fun. The trailer looks really, really good, and it's sort of, there's a lot of like speculation that it's all inside Wanda's mind, or perhaps that it's inside Vision's mind as well. So like they are kind of a couple in it, and they're living in this sort of like sitcom sort of reality. And it seems to be that it's going to be the jumping off point then for the next phase of Marvel movies as well, in terms of crossing over different realities and things like that there's been a lot of talk of, and we spoke a bit about it on here before. So when the Mandalorian pretty much wraps up, WandaVision should come to Disney Plus on the 15th, which is really great, because WandaVision was supposed to come this year, and I think had it have maybe came now, it might have sort of got lost a little bit, just with a lot of stuff kind of releasing at this time. So I think moving it to January was a good idea, because it's going to give, once the Mandalorian finishes up and then you hit January and you've got this nice weekly series that you can follow along with.
Heavenly shades of night are falling. It's twilight time.
Wanda and Vision, aren't we a five-pair?
This is our home now. I want us to fit in.
Oh, this is gonna be a gas!
Where did you two move from? How long have you been married? And why don't you have children yet?
Our story.
I think what my wife means to say is that we moved from...
Moved from where? Married when? Damn it, why?
Oh, Arthur, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Deep in the dark, your kiss spilled through.
This is really happening.
Like days of old, lighting the spark of love that fills me with rings of hope.
Am I dead?
No. Why would you think that?
Because you are.
But alongside that, then, there's been a lot of sort of speculation about what's going to happen with the next sort of series of Disney movies and whether or not they're going to follow what Warner Brothers have done. So initially there was a lot of news, or a lot of sort of backlash to Mulan releasing digitally. And it was more about how Disney chose to release it through this Premier Access, where not only did you have to pay for the show, but you also had to have an active Disney Plus subscription, right? Which I think bothered an awful lot of people, because then they skipped it out of the cinema entirely and they were able to kind of make even more money on it that way themselves. Now, I don't think it was a major success for them, and it certainly didn't make anywhere near as much money as it would have made had it have released theatrically. But it turns out that it actually made them, they haven't released any figures, I don't think, but they were very, very impressed with the level of success that Mulan did have. Which they're going to then look at releasing more movies this way going forward. So that was the initial part of the news, which seemed like Black Widow was inevitably going to be part of this, right? Because they can't just keep kicking it down the line. It's got to come out at some point. But the latest news seems to actually kind of suggest that that's not the case. And instead, the movies that they're looking at bringing directly to Disney Plus are Pinocchio, Cruella, and Peter Pan and Wendy are going to come straight to this Premier Access with no mention of Black Widow at all. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't care about any of those movies. They can be released whenever, even like in a sewer. I don't give a shit.
This is really fascinating though, right? Because I didn't know... No, I remember Cruella because, funny enough, last year when you and I were in London, they were filming Cruella. So they were just outside where we were working. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So it's crazy that movie still actually hasn't even not only came out, but there hasn't been a trailer or anything at all, as far as I remember. There's only been like a static image released of it, like a press image.
Yeah.
I had no idea that they were doing Pinocchio, which Tom Hanks is in apparently. And
there was another Pinocchio that was released during the Berlin Film Festival this year, directed by Roberto Benigni. So again, that's another Pinocchio within like say 12 months or so.
Yeah, and I had no idea they were making a Peter Pan and Wendy movie either. So none of these are that big of a shock that they're making the decision that they will go straight to Disney Plus. And I think that if Mulan was a success, I would probably categorize Mulan as the same level of interest as all of these movies would be. Like, they're all based on existing properties that are all relatively popular, but are not like the biggest properties in the whole world. So that's pretty cool, but it does then leave us with the question of when is Black Widow? When is it, Rado? I don't
know. Hopefully it's going to stay where it is. It's just waiting for the time of the release.
But ask your sources to find out when Black Widow is.
I will. But I will say one thing that is different between like the Peter Pan or the Cruella thing and Mulan is the cultural kind of background of it. And I think the Mulan, Disney was trying to maybe show how they take care of the different cultures, people of different color, a different race as well, and just kind of getting it to kind of merge into the universe. Well, I don't know much about the films you mentioned, but I don't expect them to be groundbreaking. I might be wrong.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And financially speaking, I definitely think Disney were doing that because they expected this movie to be huge in China. They wanted Mulan to have a huge Chinese, theatrical release and do very successfully there, which it probably would have done. So there's no doubt about it that was the cultural side of the movie. Had a lot riding on it compared to these other movies. But I don't know if that ever... I just don't think Mulan, at least from my experience, still is not like a massive selling property. It's not like the hottest property that Disney are on by any stretch of the imagination. No. So, that's why I still feel that like it's in the same category as a lot of these other movies. It just had more kind of writing on it, I guess, culturally speaking.
I'm not sure if you heard the rumors about the who's gonna replace Gellert Grindelwald in the Harry Potter prequel.
I did actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting, right? So last week we were talking about Johnny Depp leaving the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and Deadline is reporting that the Mads Mikkelsen is gonna be he's in talks with essentially just playing that role, and that sounds super exciting because Mads is a great actor, and I would love to see him playing.
I know we're really. If you ever wonder why we run long, it's because of tangents like this. But I also was reading that Johnny Depp is going to receive the full payout because this contract that he signed for this meant that he would get paid irregardless of whether or not he actually really performed in anything. So, given that he didn't there was no sort of contractual issues with him actually getting out of it, and because they asked him to resign, he essentially still gets paid, and I believe it was an 8-figure sum that he was getting paid. Rado, an 8-figure sum.
Sorry, I'm counting this quite a lot just for doing nothing. Like, they fired me, but they still gonna pay me.
Now, can you imagine, right? Literally, he's like a few minutes of screen time. Like, of course he's going to walk away from this. If they come and ask him to do it, they're like, do I still get paid? And they're like, yeah, okay, no problem. I don't have to, I'll step away. No problem whatsoever. Thank you very much.
This is my bank account number.
But can you imagine, though, how if you're Mads Mikkelsen and you're sitting down for your morning coffee and you open up the news and it's like Johnny Depp getting paid 8 figures to not act in the role that you're going to act in? 8 figures, Rado.
Crazy.
You'd be like, you'd just be like, what am I doing? Why am I signing up to play this at all? Oh God.
It's not confirmed yet. Hopefully that will
it's not.
happen. But this is just one of the...
I think it'll be a great fit, though.
When we are talking, because we are kind of like jumping from the HBO to Disney. Now I jumped into HBO, to Warner, and Warner is obviously part of the owns HBO, right?
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about The Last of Us?
Yeah, very very briefly. I melted your brain earlier in the year about The Last of Us Part 2, and we had news earlier in the year that they were going to make a Last of Us series. With Neil Druckmann, the director of the game, and Craig Mazin, the creator of the Chernobyl series. And it has officially been ordered to series, which is very, very, very exciting for me.
Exciting.
And I think that you're going to love it. I just knowing what I know about the game and knowing that Neil Druckmann himself is directly involved in this, and then knowing what the sort of tone and style that Craig Mazin went with for Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like such a natural fit for these two to go and create this series and bring it to life on the silver screen as opposed to on games console. So I cannot wait.
Yeah, so if you want to go back and listen to Connor talking about it, this is our episode with Hamilton Eurovision, and I think it's episode 13 if I'm not wrong. It's got the whole review. Connor talking about for about 15 minutes about The Last of Us Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know that some people who live in my household actually skip that section. That's why I put the timeline. That's why I put the timestamps in
That's why it's there.
the notes.
Yeah.
Just you can skip me or Connor or just Connor. I actually cut Connor quite a lot from the episode, and then he has more than 50% of the time. And that's obviously a joke. Last thing I wanted to kind of touch on, it sounds like a big joke as well, but this is a confirmed information that Spike Lee, we were talking about his film The Five Bloods in one of our episodes this year, will be working on his new project. A new project will be a musical about Viagra. And it's actually, this is true. This is Deadline been talking about it. So he actually, Spike Lee has directed like a stage recording of American Utopia, David Byrne's American Utopia, which I watched during the festival, London Film Festival, and I think it's amazing. So this is something he's been going to be working with the British playwright Kwame Kwei-Armah. And it's interesting because he kind of puts like a very big tribute to his mom, that she helped him overcome his hatred for musicals. And now he wrote, finally, going into my 4th decade as a filmmaker, I will be directing a dancing or singing musical. Spike Lee joined, and I can't wait. So that's gonna be interesting. We'll see how this movie stands firmly.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to add to our news today?
No, I think that's us. Yeah.
That's it. That's been news, and now we can just exchange a few things what we've been watching recently. Last week I was talking first. Maybe this time you wanna say a couple of things you've been watching?
Yeah, I'm gonna add something in here very quick actually that I forgot to run past you. Have you watched the Coca-Cola commercial for Christmas?
No.
I just thought you might be interested in it because it is directed by none other than Taika Waititi.
Ooh, oh, he's making money, this boy.
He is indeed. Sold his soul. He's out here working for Disney and Coke now. Are you kidding me? Dear Lord. But yeah, there's no dialogue or anything like that. It's just a short story. It's just like a small, sweet story. But directed by Taika Waititi. I recommend going and checking it out afterwards. It's like 2 or 3 minutes or something. I can't remember, but this week I have watched 2 things that, primarily because of some audio-visual stuff that we spoke about off air in terms of Dolby Atmos and stuff like that. So I went and I watched Mad Max Fury Road and Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, so I think you've spoke about Fury Road before on the show.
Yeah, briefly, yes.
Yeah, and it's an incredible movie. Like it just is something that it's relentless, to be honest with you. Like it just kind of goes, and there are 1 or 2 small pauses to catch your breath throughout the movie, and then you're right back into it again. There isn't much that I can say on Mad Max Fury Road that hasn't already been said. But you will often see, if you're ever looking into like audio-visual forums and stuff like that, it's one of the movies that always makes its way to the top of, like, if you've got a TV that has Dolby Vision and you've got a Dolby Atmos capable sound system, you've got to check out Fury Road. And let me tell you, Rado, these people were not lying.
Yes.
They were not lying. This movie, it looks absolutely stunning. So like the 4K Dolby Vision download from iTunes, and then it has Dolby Atmos support on it as well, and it just sounds incredible the whole way through it, as well as just it is stunning looking constantly. And so much of that is down to as well the fact that so much of the effects are practical effects. You know, like they're when vehicles are like smashing off each other, they feel heavy and weighted, and it feels like dangerous what's happening, and the people on the vehicles as they're moving around them and stuff, like you're constantly feeling like at any minute someone is like, anybody here is just gone, they're just done for, right? Like nobody is safe from this like high intensity carnage. But then when you mix into that the Dolby Atmos, where you get things like the guy who plays the guitar or the drums.
Oh yeah,
like you know, so like the drums feel like they're in the distance. And you hear them, and it's just this like impending noise that's getting closer to you. And the fact that then it's obviously woven into the soundtrack of the movie and stuff like that is obviously just brilliant. But it is just an audio-visual delight, and I couldn't recommend it enough if you have a system capable of playing it. And the same goes then for Into the Spider-Verse, which has made its way to Netflix now, which
it does.
for a lot of people is awesome. Yeah.
Did you watch it on Netflix actually, or do you have a copy of that?
I have the
4K
the iTunes version of that as well, the digital download, because it was one of the first ones actually that had Dolby, that I came across, that had Dolby Vision support like a year or so ago. And it also has Dolby Atmos support. So again, it just, if you have a good TV set capable of Dolby Vision, the color range of this movie is just unbelievable. And it just like, it is breathtaking to watch every single time you watch it. And I'm so happy. I've had multiple friends tell me recently that they've watched it for the first time now because it's come to Netflix, which shows you a lot about the power of Netflix nowadays, right?
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
you know, movies that people just pass by and they come to Netflix, and all of a sudden everyone's like, hey, have you seen this 5-year-old movie? You know, and you're like, yes, I have. It was great, and I told you 5 years ago you should watch it. You know, so I would, if you have a device or a TV that's capable of doing Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision, these two movies get my absolute recommendation for it, because they sound amazing and their soundtracks are incredible, and their audio mix is incredible, and their visuals are just stunning. Like, both of them are just absolutely stunning. So that's what I've been watching this week, amongst some other things that we'll talk about in a bit. What have you been up to?
Yeah, so this is the thought I had for last 2 weeks. There hasn't been anything major or anything like big that we really both wanted to kind of jump on and start watching. There, you know, even the list I have here of, like, I have 4 things, which 2 are TV series, 2 are old things. I don't know what's going on with the quality, with the releases, and that it might be the kind of mixture of maybe going back to something you know and you feel familiar with, that gives you that warm kind of fuzzy feeling. Oh, I want to just watch something that's gonna give me some nice feeling. And on the back of that, I watched the National Lampoon's Vacation on Netflix, and for some reason, I don't know, I was just sitting there after like long day at the office at home, and then I just wanted to kind of forget, you know, that I've done you know, whatever, how many hours I've done. And I thought to myself, I just want to watch something funny, like a comedy. And then this came to me. I was like, I want to watch National Lampoon. And I looked it up, and there it is, National Lampoon's Vacation. This is the first of like the 3 kind of big films. There were more after that, but I think these are the canonic ones. And this is directed by Harold Ramis, and the written by John Hughes, which has, you know, Chevy Chase obviously in this film. And this is the Griswold family. They go into this Wally world, which I never kind of understood it until dawned on me during watching it. This is about Disneyland. They obviously couldn't use Disneyland. They are going to Wally World, which has this moose, not the mouse, as a big puppet. But this movie is still extremely funny, and it's incredible how in this film you can see slowly the madness of the head of the family, Clark Griswold. He's from this very steady man. You see he's a little bit, you know, he's not very crazy, but towards the end, he's just going to this madness with his family. He drags everyone. And I love this film. I enjoyed it so much. There's like Randy Quaid is in it, and there is Jane Krakowski. John Candy is in there for a very brief time. So this is like a classic 80s comedy. It's not in 4K, Dolby surround, whatever, but it's super fuzzy and made me feel nice about things. And what made me also feel nice about things was Deep Impact. Yes. So this is the how do you call it? Is a catastrophic?
Yeah.
It's the movie about the comet that is gonna crash into Earth, and we are doomed. One of those films that were super popular for a brief moment. I think it went on things like obviously Towering Inferno back in the days, and then you have Dante's Peak, and then you had in the same year released Armageddon and Deep Impact, Twister.
A little bit Volcano.
Yeah, and then 2012, that was later. So I love those movies. I'll be honest with you, they are so they take you out of your misery and think, oh my God, what kind of horrible life people have. They have to fight.
It could be worse.
Yeah, it could be definitely worse. And for that 1998 production, there's some of the effects are bad, but some of the effects are quite even spectacular. When they destroyed half of America, I was enjoying actually watching it, to be honest. But I'll tell you what really what I was really enjoying about this film. So it starts off with Elijah Wood is kind of looking through the telescope, and he discovers, oh, there is something in the sky that shouldn't be there, and he sends the message to the astronomer, and this astronomer actually discovers something, and he obviously cannot send an email. That's super funny. The opening sequence is extremely funny. He cannot send an email because he cannot connect to the server. Everything, he has to type everything in a code, so it's not everything is kind of sorted out. He cannot make a call, so he takes the floppy disk, and he drives down from the mountain, and he has an accident. And then you skip on to 1 year later, and there is this stupid plot, and I'm just thinking to myself, I've not seen this movie for a long time. What the fuck is happening here? What is this movie doing here? There's the plot about the romance in the White House, that this guy resigned because he had a romance. I'm I don't care about this. Can we just go on to the comet? And then suddenly it's revealed. So the president is revealed, and this is no one else than Morgan Freeman. Playing a black president in 1998. In 1998.
What a wild idea.
Yeah, and it's okay. And then it's revealed what's actually going to happen, that they have the knowledge, they're working with the Russians. And I think that's oh my God, again, this is a movie about two nations that were fighting with each other for a long time. They're now working together to, in the common threat, they need to work together. And they send the astronauts into the orbit to kind of go to the comet and just kind of blow it up. And you have Jon Favreau in that crew. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie or if you remember it.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's incredible. So Jon Favreau is in there. You got Robert Duvall in there. I think this movie, it's underrated. I think the ending is just a little bit too kind of quick. It comes really quickly. I would really love to watch maybe half an hour more of that movie. But I've been enjoying it so much. Deep Impact. I started watching Dante's Peak, but it's bored me to death. So I switched it off.
Fair enough.
There are two things on my list I wanted to briefly talk about. One is the Great British Bake Off.
Yay!
Yeah, because you were talking about it last week. So, guys, if you've not listened to our previous episodes, Connor was talking about it, and I agree with it 100%. It's a very, very highly addictive, really good show that makes you feel good about other people, about the world. I love the hosts. I think Noel and Matt are just an incredible pair. They have this quirky sense of humor they throw in there. I love it, and I've been watching it. My girlfriend's obsessed now with Great British Bake Off, and she's like, "Why can't we just watch the final?" I'm like, "It's not been on the air yet." So it's super excited. I think we are preaching to the choir. I think most of our listeners, I probably heard about it and enjoy it. We also enjoy it. We are. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing that was the thing. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because I listen to other movie podcasts and TV podcasts and stuff, and I just never hear people talking about it. It's just one of those shows that feels like it's not deserved of critical acclaim or critic acclaim or whatever. And I'm like, hey, this show is exactly what people want right now, and it's been happening for many, many years. And the same people keep coming back and saying, hey, this show's amazing and it's so brilliant. But in terms of TV critics and stuff, they just never hear about it. And maybe that's because it's been around for so long that we are way past all praise, But I just feel like it's such just a wonderful show, and there needs to be more like it when it comes to reality TV, because it is reality TV in a way, and we have such a bad, when you say that term, you just
it's got a
immediately
very
think
bad
of
connotation.
just,
Like reality TV, it's garbage, it's voyeuristic, it's judgmental, it's everything that you don't want it to be.
Yeah, it's everything that the Bake Off is not.
Exactly. Yes.
So,
yeah.
Well, go watch the Bake Off if you haven't.
Yes, absolutely. This is right now on Channel 4, and the big finale is coming very soon. It might be out before our podcast, but I'll try to essentially release it a little bit earlier. And I know that you've never gonna watch The Crown.
Ugh.
Have you actually even watched The Crown?
Yeah, yuck.
So
this is my opinion too. Yuck.
Okay, is it? I want to ask you: is it because you hate the monarchy, or is it because you hate slow TV shows, or what is it? I don't know.
That's a big question, and its answer is probably very, very long-winded. But and
we have time today. I'm not going to cut you out.
Probably politically controversial in many ways too. But yes. The simple answer is that as a Irish person, I don't care for watching anything about the monarch. And then on top of that, they are often the most dullest movies and TV shows humanly possible. They are so dull. They are so boring to watch that I'm just like, I can't be behind, and I just don't care. I don't care about any of it. I really don't. I'm just watching. I'm like, why would anyone invest time into making this, never mind time into watching it? So take that as you will, Rado.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you for your honesty. I have to kind of say this. For me, as a foreigner, watching a film about the monarchy and maybe as well about the history in the making is very interesting. It's kind of me trying to understand the culture and maybe get the culture a little bit more. Mm-hmm. That's like the overview of that. And I think a lot of people outside Britain are super interested in this because as British people would probably know quite a lot of stuff that's happening in there. For me, when I watched, for example, because I was catching up with series 3, there was few episodes where I was caught off guard. I didn't know about the things that happened. Like there was a big accident that happened in Wales when the mountain or the coal actually just kind of buried half of a town. So many people have died, and that's super interesting from that perspective. I think in the series 4 as well, there are obviously echoes of the unrest in the north of Ireland, and the protests, and the IRA is actually making a bombing, killing people. So that's also like a part of history. But I think you would enjoy it for one reason, because I was thinking about it for last week when I tried to catch up with series 3 and start series 4. Series 1 of The Crown makes like the royal family, not maybe the whole royal family, but at least the Queen, which is played by Claire Foy, extremely likable. And she's this young woman that suddenly, because of decision made by her uncle, but the health of her father, she has to step in and become a queen, and she, you are with her because she's this young girl. She didn't have a life, and she suddenly she needs to be represent, she can't show emotion. She has to know about the politics and everything. And you're like, I like her. I want her to succeed. But as the time goes on, and I've noticed it in the series 3, you start hating everyone in this series. And when series 4 started, I don't think there is anyone in there in the whole kind of family extending to the people around that you like. This is incredible for the TV show to do, to get you from liking the characters, you're actually with them, you want them to succeed, to despising them, to hating them. And every episode is like a closed story, right? So it's not like what happens in the next episode. And some of the episodes are like super cleverly done. And I think series 4, I've watched maybe 3 episodes. They are just incredible. And you have in series 4, you have introduced Diana, Lady Di. And there are so many clever things in there. I was super surprised by, the obvious thing for the show would be to show the big wedding, right? So, like the white dress, the how many people, crowds, and like everything, kind of like everyone's posing for the pictures. None of that is in the episode. None of that. It's just because this is not what the show is trying to show. It's trying to show what's actually happening behind the scenes with the characters, in their minds, and what's actually happening in the family. I think this is super well documented by other people. I don't think the royal family has any kind of input into that, but it is incredibly interesting. It is the show that I kind of rediscover the history of United Kingdom through that show. And like I said, I hate those characters. I hate those people in there. And I would never kind of thought to myself that I will make such a remark especially after series 1. So series 1 was amazing. There was not a weak episode in series 1. Series 2 gone a little bit up and down. Series 3 is the same, has great 3-4 episodes, and then the fillers. But series 4 with Margaret Thatcher, with Lady Di, started really strong. And I think a lot of our listeners are watching that TV show. And if you're not, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Don't be Connor. Give it a shot.
I can absolutely guarantee that there's a lot of people watching it. Like Netflix push it so hard, and like I should say that I'm definitely being ignorant to it for sure. There's a lot of contextual background to why I don't want to watch something about the monarch, obviously being from the north, but I don't want to take away from like the craftsmanship of the show, which I probably came off a lot as before, where I'm like just dismissing it as like like it's a terrible show. I haven't watched any of it. My point is that it's just not something I absolutely would ever want to watch, and like that might mean it could be the best TV series ever made. It's just like, it's just not something that is going to ever appeal to me. And I would have to really disengage so much of what I look for when I watch a TV show or a movie to try and sit through it. You're certainly pleading an amazing case for the artistry that makes the show. For me personally, it's like, I don't think I'm gonna watch something with Margaret Thatcher and Lady Di and the Queen and so on and so forth. That's not really.
I get your point. I don't agree with it. That's we have to leave it like that.
Your Majesty, I think we have enough respect for one another personally to ask ourselves some of the bigger questions, woman to woman. We are the same age after all.
Really?
Just 6 months between us.
Oh? And who is the senior?
I am, ma'am.
Two women running the shop. That's the last thing this country needs.
Perhaps that's precisely what this country needs.
My goal is to change this country from being dependent to self-reliant, and I think in that I am succeeding.
Joblessness, recession, crises. It's a dangerous game to make enemies left, right, and center.
Not if one is comfortable with having enemies.
Are you?
Oh, yes.
One day, dear boy, you shall be king. Your duty now is the choice of a woman that people will love as a princess, and in due course, as queen.
The new series of The Crown is available on Netflix, as you mentioned, and this is what a little bit annoys me, because they dropped everything, like the whole 10 episodes are just there to watch, and I feel like I have to catch up and watch it right now, because everyone's talking about it for next 3 weeks, and if I don't watch it right now, I will be like, I would be one of those people like, oh, I told you about the show, like you said, I told you about this show like 3 years ago, and you watching it right now. So I just feel like this obligation of like binging it, and I don't want to binge it because the episodes are quite packed in terms of like there's a lot of emotion going on. And for example, right now Disney Plus has been releasing these episodes of Mandalorian, or like week after week, and not only Mandalorian, they've been releasing the right stuff as well in the same manner. I kind of enjoy this. I enjoy waiting for things. And I had this discussion with my girlfriend. She's like, I want to binge. I'm like, I don't want to binge. I want to watch
you for sure.
I want to watch one episode and then wait for the next one and just have this anticipation of like, oh, okay. You know, I kind of remember the days when Lost was on the TV, and Lost was released obviously on a weekly basis. And I have to admit, I didn't watch it live in terms of like on the TV, because on the TV it was a year later in Poland. We had to download it illegally to watch the next episode, and that was like essentially waiting for, okay, was it released in the US? I need to watch it now. You know, like this kind of thing that gets you going through the week. Obviously makes you a little bit anxious, but there is something to live for. And when something is just dropped there, you kind of like start watching it. Maybe you will not watch it because you don't have time, and you feel like you are pressured, because our friends like texting us, oh, we've been watching The Crown, we are halfway through, and we haven't started series 4. What is going on? No, I don't like that. I like the steady pace.
Yeah, I agree. Like I've actually found that some shows that Netflix do like block release, that I find myself like I'll maybe go through a few of them at a time. So a perfect example of this is the Queen's Gambit, right? Where like I was like, oh, I'll watch 2 back to back, and then I just was like, yeah, I can't do a third. Like I need to go away for like a few days or like a week and come back and watch a third, and maybe I can watch the 3rd and 4th together. And Karate or Cobra Kai, is similar for me. It's like, you know, I kind of blasted my way through series 1, and now I'm like, all right, I need like a break. I need to like, you know, I can't do these episodes like back to back to back like this anymore. And there's been a few other things that we've been watching week to week, and we're about to talk about Mandalorian, and I'm just like, I find myself looking forward to Fridays, right? You know, like I'm like, oh, class, it's Friday, and your phone gets the notification. It's like there's a new episode of The Mandalorian available, and you're like, I'm excited to like sit down tonight on the sofa and watch an episode of this, and that's it for another week, and I can talk about it, and we can talk about it, and you know, I can text people about it, and then next week you watch the next one, and it's great. And I think some things lend themselves definitely to being bingeable, you know, but I think we went too far down that pathway a few years ago, and a lot of services I've found have started to, like, this was what a big contention with The Boys, right? Season 2 was that people wanted it, and I think that show works so much better being weekly.
Absolutely,
so much better being weekly.
Yeah,
so.
Anything that HBO has been releasing as well, like is just weekly, and we were talking about The Watchmen, but I also kind of like remember our discussion about Devs. Devs was one of those shows this year that I wanted to kind of like stop after one. All the episodes were available, but I wanted to stop and just kind of like think about it, digest it, take few hours just with the music that's kind of still playing in my head, and so this is amazing, powerful stuff. I think some of the TV shows, obviously, you know, you can drop off like the whole season of Schitt's Creek there, and fine, you can binge it, but things like The Crown, I think, is just misjustice. It doesn't do justice to this TV show in general. Sure. That's my only complaint to it. But you know, Connor, we're going to talk about our 2 reviews, but I wanted to say there is so much content right now, and you might not know, like our listeners might not know what to watch, what's worth watching. I thought to myself, I will just do very quick recommendation on Amazon Prime. If you've not watched the best movie that's been awarded with Oscar recently, the Parasite is actually available on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
And it's a movie that you can watch in color and in black and white. And
really?
Yeah, I started watching the black and white version recently, and this movie is.
Did you happen to catch any of like the behind the scenes and how much of that movie was digital effects?
No.
Yeah, it's really cool. You should check it out. Like you never would believe it, but like there was a video I watched. Oh my God, I could never tell you what it is, but just have a look. You'll find it somewhere. But like the power of digital effects, because obviously they get such a bad reputation so often for like bad CGI, like we talked about earlier in Wonder Woman. But this is a prime example of how it can be used so perfectly to just fill in sets and stuff like that. So just so many of the actual sets, like the shots outside the house on the kind of, like the gray ramp, the driveway into their house, like that is like pretty much like it's like a gray wall and a driveway, and then just green. It's just green screens after that. Like all of the background and all is animated but it's just done so subtly and so tastefully that you never ever actually notice it. And it's like, this is the power of digital effects, is that they can make things in that when you're not putting them front and center and they fall to the background, they can be totally and utterly believable and like just transcend like just the like traditional sort of movie making, and you just buy into it completely. It's great. Go check it out if you can find it.
Overall, the movie is just fantastic. It's there for you with your subscription for free, and if you have nothing else to watch, just go and watch this film. You will not regret it. This is one of the finest films of the last few years. Parasite, available on Amazon Prime. Connor, let's jump on to our review, and let's start with something I've watched first, and when it was premiered in London Film Festival, and the moment it dropped on net on the BBC iPlayer, I tried to bully you into watching it, and you are the beast that will always be saying no because you have a good reason, because it's not 4K, because it's not in Dolby Surround, it's not in Dolby Vision, it's not in this, I'm not going to watch this. But you finally watched it, and and I'm kind of looking forward to talk about it. We're obviously talking about the Mangrove. This is the first episode of 6 episodes of like miniseries called Small Axe, directed by Steve McQueen. And other episodes are coming every Sunday. So we have those films that will be filling out our Sundays, not Fridays. So you have Friday for Mandalorian. Saturday you can rest, cook, clean. Sunday you can go and watch the Small Axe series. And it's an incredible film. It's over 2 hours long. So it's not like a TV series, but it's a standalone episode. It's a story of the Mangrove 9. So these are the people who kind of been put on a trial after clashing with the London police in 1917. So first things, I will just say a couple of things. Who's actually in it? One of the main actors, Letitia Wright, playing Althea Jones, like real characters. These are real characters, real people. Sean Parks, Malachi Kirby, and Jack Lowden is in there. So a lot of people who are probably less known than well known. I think Letitia, because of her role in the MCU as a
she's Shuri.
Yes, Shuri. Yeah, in the Black Panther. That is obviously one of the biggest names. But you have Jack Lowden in there as the lawyer. Yeah. But this movie is like, I think I had this week when I watched 2 movies back to back, and one of them was Mangrove, the other one was The Trial of Chicago 7. And after I watched The Trial of Chicago 7, I thought to myself, oh, it's a great court drama. Then I watched Mangrove and I thought to myself, that's even better court drama. And this film is not set in a court for this entirety of 2 hours, which the film Aaron Sorkin's film is actually set in the court for like 2 hours. This is a portrait of a community, first of all. The community that's being treated like this is the 70s of in London, and you have this black community in West London living and being bullied, being terrorized by the police, by the white police, or not being helped by the government, the magistrate, the judges, anyone. And this is kind of feels very personal, because Steve McQueen is from that descent. He's from England. It definitely is that sort of film that obviously you had the kind of glimpses of racial themes in 12 Years a Slave. Glimpses, obviously, that's the whole kind of build, but that wasn't personal. I thought to myself, like, it's a beautiful film, it's a great film, but this film feels really, really personal. And I was rewatching it today, and I even like it more the second time I watch it, because so many things in there. First of all, it still rings true to the day, and it still feels on time. It's not something that's aged, that unfortunately hasn't changed much. That's one thing. The other one is how incredibly it's constructed and how beautifully it's done, how beautifully it's shot. It's got those weird shots in there. I'm not sure if you kind of paid attention to them, when the camera kind of stays on kind of weird things, like when they do a riot, like the police comes into the restaurant and they take everyone in. The camera kind of lingers on the coriander that's kind of wobbling, like for 30 seconds, and just kind of makes you feel like, okay, something has happened here. People are gone. And those shots, there is many of them in the film, are just kind of tell you more than the explanation, like what the characters are saying, and everything is kind of like said and it's clearly laid out. And this shows very, very tight community that is struggling against the whole country, against the system that's rigged against them. I love this film. I think there is not many films that are so beautifully made. They are artistic, but they are so compelling and so rich that they talk to you on many, many levels. And I'm in awe, and I hope you are too. If you're not, I will try to convince you.
So I finally actually just watched this today. And I should clarify, actually, Rado, that I was not putting off this movie because of that I couldn't watch it in some sort of 4K or Dolby Vision. All right, that is my preference. And what I was explaining to you via text was, it is very frustrating that the British broadcast company, what is BBC? Why am I blanking on what BBC is? But whatever the hell they're called, that iPlayer does not support, like, 4K or high like HDR or anything like that. So like, it's, to me, it's always like, I really wish British Broadcast Corporation. I can't believe I said company. I'm an idiot. So I finally watched it today anyway, all that aside. And yeah, the comparisons to the trial of the Chicago 7 were immediate. That, like, a courtroom drama, a lot of sort of like race tied in there as well to some extent, although this leans into race obviously a lot more, and is pretty much predominantly, if not entirely, about both like race and poverty kind of together. But what I love about this is that the people that you see going to the Mangrove are that there is no sort of like, focus on any sort of like poverty or anything like that there. It's very much like these people are like rich in spirit and rich in culture, and they're trying to live and preserve their culture and celebrate their culture. And it is just purely a matter of that people don't like their culture, that they are trying to prevent them from having it. And it's fascinating to watch a show like this. We spoke about it with the trial of Chicago 7, and we spoke about it with something else, the Five Bloods, I think, even earlier in the year. And it's like fascinating that these movies have all kind of came out this year, despite all of them being in production for many, many years now. I think Steve McQueen, this was announced in 2014, so they've been working on this, at least this one here, for quite a few years now. So it's just so peculiar how timely everything is in relation to the sort of Black Lives Matter movement that we've seen earlier in the year. But there's something else for me personally that I've been saying about it, about the Black Lives Matter situation as well, and it's the parallels to a lot of the political situation that happened here. You mentioned them from the Queen, or not the Queen's Gambit, from The Crown, that there's a lot of parallels of like a group of people basically having their rights taken away from them, their ability to vote taken away from them, being arrested for basically no reason whatsoever, you know. And it's just so fascinating. Like when I watch this, for me, it brings up a lot of other feelings that Trial of the Chicago 7 didn't necessarily. This one here felt like it tapped on the nerve for me very much so. And it is even more striking that when you consider that one of his first movies, or one of his biggest movies, was Hunger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that Steve McQueen directed Hunger, a movie about here. And so his themes that seem to run through his movies are definitely like that of a people who are persecuted against simply for who they are. In many ways. And this movie does a really, really brilliant job of showing you that, you know, while it may be somewhat biased for sure, that they are people who are trying to have their own culture, and that there are other people that are trying to take it away from them purely because they hate them. Yeah. And that is the simple reason. There is no other God, what's his name in it? Percy or whatever his name is. He is like he just does what he does out of hatred, and that's it. There's no other reason for it. It's just there's a hatred in him. He's performed so well in this movie as well, because he just like you were saying about The Crown, you just kind of hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you just, from the moment you lay eyes on him on screen, you're like, I don't like this person's presence. And I have a funny feeling that what he's about to do throughout the course of this movie, I'm not going to like either. So to kind of tie it back to something I talked about quite recently, which was The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember
this put me in mind of The Wind That Shakes the Barley an awful lot, and that same emotion that you get from it, where it's like a furious anger that is like simmering underneath, mixed with like sadness as well, you know, like what just that sort of side of things. You're like, you know, what you struggle to almost say why, like why did this have to happen, and why does it continue to happen in many cases as well. So this was a brilliant movie. I recommended it to multiple people today after I watched it. I was like, yeah, you should go and check this out. Especially people who are interested in the history of what happened here, because I was like, you know, if you have been looking throughout this year to just friends of mine and colleagues and stuff, like if you've been looking kind of at the events of what happened this year and saying like, oh, I have no real experience of, like, you know, the sort of what the Black Lives Matter protests and the events that happened around the world, you know, if you're kind of going, well, like I don't really see a lot of it on a day-to-day basis or something like that, this movie I feel like is so much more relatable because you can feel how it relates to things that happened here in Ireland, in my point of view anyway. So yeah, I said to people, like, if you don't think that, if you don't quite understand what's happened this year and you want to really feel something about it, like, watch this, because it'll put into context for you, like, this has been happening for a long, long time. It's time frame wise, it happened at the exact same time where a lot of trouble happened here. It's Steve McQueen has done an amazing job, and I'm looking forward now to watching the rest of the series.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's something incredible that you feel. This is not a movie about my culture, like my descent, where I'm from, not even in my country, but I understand what those people are going through.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is so universal, and it's so powerful as well. I think I've not watched all of the 5 films. I think I said 6. There's 5 films. I watched the first, The Mangrove, and The Lover's Rock, which is actually going to be out on the 22nd of November. So it might be after we release this episode. But I kind of look forward to see more of those stories. 4 of those stories are actually based on true events. The Lover's Rock is the one that is the kind of fictional, but it's the one that is the most heartwarming, the most lovely, the one you can just go into and sink into that place. So I really I'm right now. I think this might be one of those rare things that's gonna appear on many people's lists towards the end of the year, saying that's one of the best things that was released in 2020. One of the best things that has happened in 2020.
From a movie point of view, like a technical point of view, it's filmed beautifully. Steve McQueen always has a look about his movies that I think is so beautiful, but it's also very understated. There's nothing really flashy or in your face about it. It's just, he has beautiful like color palettes and tones to his movie, which I think are amazing. The lighting, so much of the lighting is incredible as well. I think I've spoke before on here about like, the importance of lighting like black actors properly as well, and it can't just be done the same way as just lighting like white actors. And in this movie is such a prime example of it, because if you go back and watch it or look for scenes for like the lighting on their faces is just incredible. It's just so beautiful. And then, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, or maybe you don't know, but like, there's the scene where they're about to march, or they are marching. Is that I think that's Grenfell in the background?
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking as well when I was watching it today. I thought to myself, this is not an accident. Things like this are never an accident in a film, and I think this is just kind of a point. There are so many shots, I'm not sure if you noticed as well, of Queen's portrait somewhere in the corner.
Yeah.
Like kind of overlooking this. And this is also a comment of, this is not some judge's decision. This is not some policeman's decision. This is coming from the top, from the people who are in power.
Yeah.
And everything is kind of dribbled down to the people who are kind of manhandling then.
Yeah.
And doing the deeds on behalf of the system.
Yeah. I said to someone earlier, there's some sort of sense of gratification I get from watching movies like Steve McQueen's movies, like whether it be Hunger or whether it be 12 Years a Slave or whether it be this. I get some satisfaction from hoping or knowing that some people might watch this and feel shame, which is also another one of his movies.
Film,
but not, yeah, but
some people might feel widowed.
Widows
is another film.
But yeah, I get some sort of gratification. Some part of me feels like pleasure knowing that people might watch this and feel ashamed of, things that they have done or been privy to or been supporters of or something like that. I don't know exactly, but there's some element of it where like he's just so masterfully telling this story, and he's not hiding away or shying away from what he's saying, but he's telling it in such a way that it's not beating you over the head with it either.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so masterfully done. I just don't know how he does it. Like, like you can look at Aaron Sorkin's movies and you can look at The Trial of the Chicago 7 and it's beating you over the head with like what you're supposed to be feeling about it. And this doesn't do that. It just doesn't do it. It just sort of like, just so much more subtle, but yet very much like open and honest about what it's trying to the story it's trying to tell.
If we are comparing,
great movie.
If we're comparing the Trial of Chicago 7, I told you during our review, I felt like some of the characters are just like they're not real characters, but I feel like someone's just playing a role. And this feels like real people in there, and just feels like it's tries to be very close to the reality of like how people are, how they behave. They're not being, a comedy sketch or something like that. So I respect that film. I enjoy that film as well. Like watching it for the second time, like I said, gave me much more pleasure than watching it for the first time. And my initial rating on the on that film was actually 4 stars, but now I'm gonna change it, and I'm gonna give it 5 stars.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's put it 5 stars on our letterbox, Rado. Stamping it in. It's official.
On Sunday, the 9th of August in North Kensington, a demonstration took place against the police, which degenerated into totally inexcusable violence. There may be some who believe that they have been the victim of injustice at the hands of the police. Others who, like parasites, feed on these beliefs and seek to turn them to their own advantage, deliberately creating hate and violence. These defendants are all guilty of the serious criminal offense.
This attack on a black establishment is not an isolated event, but a sustained campaign against black people. And today we are saying enough is enough!
Mangrove, available on BBC iPlayer, is the first movie we agree on to give 5 stars. No, second. I think we gave something to 5 stars.
Yeah, we I can't remember what else we gave 5 stars, but we have, remember we said we'd have our secret like button.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna give it to it. I don't think I'm gonna give this one the favorite, the heart as well. It was 5 stars plus a heart made it just was like the shining example, you know.
Yeah. I kind of look forward to you watching the Lovers Rock, and that might be another gem there. Okay, so this is the Mangrove first episode of the Small Axe miniseries available on BBC iPlayer. Now let's jump on to our favorite Mandalorian, called Mandalorian. Hey. It's like, still doesn't make sense that they call him Mando. He's Mandalorian. It's like, should have a name like Pedro, Joseph.
Mando's cool though.
Mando is cool, yeah. So Mandalorian series 2 episodes 3 and 4 were released when we were not here. We were absent, so we were talking about them. So we had episode 11, The Heiress, and episode 12, The Siege. And
have you seen what the next one's called as well?
Chapter 13.
Yeah. The Jedi. Oh boy!
Oh boy! So again, let's say spoilers for anyone who's not watching
let's
not watched it.
Spoilers in this.
But we will be talking not like super full details, but we'll be discussing what's actually happening in the episode. So if you've not watched it, pause it, come back, and we'll be here waiting for you. We're waiting. Oh, you're back. Okay, great. So I have to say, after the first and the second episode, I think the series is getting better. We really enjoyed both the passenger with the frog lady, and then we had Heiress. So this is the episode when the Mandalorian actually was pointed to the planet when there should be Mandalorians, and then he's there with the frog lady, and the frog lady is the heiress of the kind of spawns she has, right? So you're thinking, oh, she's the heiress. Perfect, great title. But then he kind of gets informed that someone can take him to a place when there are Mandalorians, and very quickly he's being taken. Essentially, he's trapped. And what happens? Three Mandalorians, not called Mando like him, are landing on the boat. Then there's a big shootout, and I thought to myself at this moment is like, yes, I like this episode very, very much.
Yeah.
And what we learned in this episode, Connor, is that Mando is from this kind of part of Mandalorian tribe that is very
they're like fundamentalists.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, but he's a fundamentalist. They only believe that they never remove the helmet, because very soon you will learn that people under the masks, they just start removing the kind of heads, and they're like, oh wow, okay. And you have Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan Kryze. That's the kind of main character, right, of that. And she says she is the surviving heiress of the Mandalore. And this episode is super interesting because he's the Mandalorian, the Mando, actually says, yeah, I'm not bothered with you guys. You're not the real Mandalorians. He buggers off, but then he gets attacked. And then they help him, and they get him to help them in a very, very interesting kind of action. It's like a heist, right? They doing another heist, and there's the Imperial,
Imperial, yeah.
So I first of all, when the episode is finished, I'm not going to tell everything what's happening in there. I've noticed who has directed it, and I was like, my jaw dropped, because Bryce Dallas Howard directed one of the episodes in the previous series, and I think is one of the weakest ones.
Yeah,
that
I was so
the
surprised that this was her.
The one with the kind of Seven Samurai setup, but this one was like, wow, this is properly good. What did you think about this episode?
Yeah, I think that the show is going from strength to strength in terms of the pacing of the episode. So definitely like one of the big problems with this first season, while I did definitely enjoy it, was that it felt like, it was a bit monster of the week. And certainly the start of this season felt like it was okay too. And I'm okay with that. Like, it's fine if that's what it wanted to be. But these episodes have felt like, while they're still telling stories within like this kind of journey that he's on, it feels just a bit more focused. Now that he has the goal of he's trying to get the child to his people, like that's what the show is now focusing on. Whereas last season it was like, we don't really know what we want to focus on. Just sort of like, he's just kind of like kicking about a little bit, and he has this child with him. It feels now like they're way more confident in what Mando himself is actually like supposed to be doing. What sort of character he is, and they also feel like they have figured out a really nice balance with the child as well. In terms of last season, it was I felt like it was very much like it tried to constantly use the child as like, oh, look how cute he is, isn't that great? Whereas this time, like, it is just aware that he is somewhat of comedy relief. And they've also made the Mando and the child's relationship better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've gotten a better relationship, and we see that now. And you can tell that it's leading up to, inevitably it'll get to that point where it's going to be really difficult for him to give the child away, right? To leave it behind, because he's growing such a bond with it. And I think Pedro Pascal is getting better with both acting with the suit on as well as acting with the puppeteering, and treating it like it's a real character there too. And all of these things are coming together really, really nicely. And then you have a brilliant blend of action and humor in there together, and tension as well. Like, when they were on that Imperial ship, like, you weren't really sure of what the outcome was going to be. Like, were one of these Mandalorians going to die? Were they going to betray Mando in some way? Like, are they actually Mandalorians really? Like, there was that sense of mystery that was giving you tension. That you never really knew what was going to happen. So yeah, great that Bryce Dallas, a great episode from Bryce Dallas Howard. And I don't know if you caught it. I seen it pointed out later, but the entry into the planet in the Razor Crest. Did you happen to pick that up? So do you remember the sequence as it's bombing down into the planet? It's all like surrounded by the fire and stuff. It's almost like shot for shot a replica of Apollo 13,
which I also
directed.
watched within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's funny, but I've not seen that. I've not seen that.
Yeah, it's like shot for shot the same, and she did comment on it on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, it was meant to be. Yeah, it was intentional. So
incredible stuff. I enjoyed that episode for many reasons. One being we learn something finally about Mandalorian, about his kind of group. We meeting more people. And they kind of like, oh, he is a fanatic in this like, okay, right, I didn't know that. That's great. But you also kind of learn, you see stuff that's iconic from the Star Wars. You see the stormtroopers, you see the Empire is kind of still there, breathing on his last legs, but it's there. And it's got the lasers, it's got the fight, it's spectacular. Some of the shots on there, there is the moment when Mando is looking at the boat that explodes and the 3 Mandalorians that are leaving there, like such a beautiful shot. So pretty much this episode gave me everything, and I thought to myself, next episode is not going to be even better than that. But then you kind of watch it, and I watched this one today, kind of catch up with this, because I forgot I didn't watch it yesterday when it came out. The Siege chapter 12, and this is I'm not sure if we talked about it, but I heard predictions that he's gonna go back to the place when he kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
So he joins the Gina Carano, she's playing Cara Dune, and Carl Weathers, who also directed the episodes, playing Grief Karga, and he wants to repair his ship first of all, because his ship is actually falling to pieces. There is a very funny kind of opening sequence when he tries to explain to the child how to repair a ship, where to plug something in, and he didn't electrocute the child, but it was kind of really close and really funny.
This was a great example, of Pedro Pascal, like learning to act as if the child is a real character and not just puppeteering. Like the way he's explaining it, you can tell that he gets the humor as well, right? He understands what it is that he's doing. Something in the first season, it was just all a little bit stiff, and he had no humor or anything funny about him either. But now you can kind of see it.
Obviously, once he's there, we have a mission for him. Every week has to be a mission.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to help his friends to destroy the Empire fort or some sort of
it's an imperial base, basically.
Yeah, it's just like a base in there. It's kind of interesting because it's sitting in a mountain edge, and it has a kind of lava center running through there, which is okay. That looks super interesting. And again, this is another example of a great action in there, because everything kind of doesn't go smoothly to the plan, and the moment they kind of go off and there are the fighters following them, I thought to myself, this is the stuff I've been waiting for last probably 11 episodes, and it's just like I have a really good effects, really good shootout. It's just like, okay, this is something I'm up for it. There is not that much kind of information about the Mandalorian per se, but we kind of learned stuff about what the Empire is trying to do with, or sort of, they are essentially experimenting on the child, right? Or they experimenting on something to get something. We kind of learn more and more, and this is getting a bigger kind of picture of what Empire is working on right now. I thought this episode maybe wasn't as great as the previous one, but I also enjoyed it very much.
I actually think I enjoyed this one more, and what I couldn't help but get away from the most is that I think that last week when we spoke about it, or the last episode, something that bothered me about the show is that it has a dependency to keep going back to Star Wars stuff that we know, and it's like, it's constantly kind of throwing, just like little nods to it, but it's sort of relentless, and it felt like it was constantly too afraid to go and do its own thing. Whereas I feel like these past 2 episodes have been a lot less afraid to delve into areas of Star Wars that we haven't seen before. So we haven't really seen, like when we see Mandalorian on the kind of like fisherman's boat. Like, you haven't really got, at least in mainstream Star Wars content, we've never really seen someone in a position like that before, where they're on a boat in the sea.
I've never seen a boat in the Star Wars before.
Yeah,
I've seen the starships, the kind of walking robots, whatever. I've never seen a boat, and that was cool.
Docklands as well, like even like the actual Docklands, and some of like the way that they did the nod to having kind of like the big AT-AT looks like it's been like recommissioned into a crane on the Docklands, like stuff like that is like that's paying like much subtler nods that feel like they belong in this living world, as opposed to just keep going back to Tatooine. And I feel like this episode did that an awful lot as well, in that it wasn't afraid to be its own episode, but it also, and I think this probably the most since I remember, even from maybe the very start of the first season, was that this felt the most like a Star Wars show. Like the humor at the start of it with the child in the vent and not getting the wires, and the smoke coming out to Mando, and that's just how that scene played out, felt like Star Wars. The action sequence later on where we see the stormtroopers, or the scout troopers, actually the coolest of all the stormtroopers, the scout troopers, on the speed bikes, they burst out coming down the side of the mountain.
Yeah,
like it felt like Star Wars, or Mandalorian at the end as he like zooms up behind the guy and then hits the air brakes to come back down.
Ooh,
and it's like,
that's
this
a cool dogfight.
Feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Way more than any of the other episodes have, and it was so great to see. And I hadn't looked up before who had directed this episode, and I could not believe that it was Carl Weathers himself, who obviously was starred in the episode too. I was like, please just give the rest to Carl Weathers now. Just give the rest of the season to Carl Weathers.
I think he's obviously the episodes are written by Jon Favreau, and I think there's one other writer in this, but the kind of directing style on it's great. I don't know why I enjoyed the previous episodes just tiny bit more, but it's just like comparing, your two favorite kids, like they both great. This one I like maybe a little bit more,
I'm going to say this, though. I am a little weary for next episode. So it's called The Jedi, which likely means that we're going to see a character called Ahsoka Tano. It is written and directed by Dave Filoni, who I have to say, like, despite the fact that he is like the Star Wars guy, he's pretty much like co-running on this alongside Jon Favreau. There's nothing that he doesn't know about Star Wars. I have not really liked much of his stuff. I haven't seen any of the animated properties, but in terms of what he does, what he's done in The Mandalorian, I haven't cared a lot for, if I'm being honest with you. And I feel that he goes the other way with what I just spoke about, in that his stuff is full of like homages and nods and Easter eggs and all sorts of stuff, to the point where you're like, I get it, like, yeah, I know it's Tatooine. Yeah, I get it, and I am a little nervous that this great sort of streak that we've been on now of 3 brilliant episodes back to back might not make it to 4 great episodes back to back. But hey ho, I'm hoping that I'm really hoping that I'm wrong about that. Plus, I am super excited just to see Jedi stuff in this now.
We've been waiting for it for 12 episodes right now of the Mandalorian. I think how I was with the first series, when I was like, okay, it's fine, but I think this season has actually given me what I was waiting for.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've got no more doubts about what this is. We've been talking about it, incredibly beautifully produced with special effects that feel like, oh my god, this is TV show. This is a TV show. This is the stuff that's been happening in this episode. And you were talking about the kind of air brakes and whatever. The fight, like the fight with the what are they called? I don't know. The spaceships, Imperial spaceships. Yeah, the TIE fighters was just brilliant. And more of that stuff. You first episode I think was quite long, and I thought to myself, shouldn't be that long. This episode is 40 minutes. I'm like, make it 50, please.
Yeah.
And the child in this episode also is super cute, because you not only see him repairing the spaceship, but you also see him actually stealing the food with the Force.
And the macrons.
Yes, and you see him enjoying the ride on the spaceship, on the Mando spaceship, when he's actually doing almost like a roller coaster ride, and then he throws up.
He bokes all over the place.
Yeah.
He even celebrates when Mando destroys the TIE fighter as well.
He's enjoying the fireworks. So it's a great episode all around, and there is this menacing figure of the Moff Gideon. I want to see more. And not only he's played by one of my favorite TV shows actors, Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad and from Better Call Saul, but he's also such a intriguing figure because he is wearing almost stuff that the Lord Vader has. Like he's kind of, I don't want to be diving into, because there are people who probably know more about this stuff, the Star Wars stuff, than I do, but I just kind of enjoy it, and that's it.
Yep, it definitely is. They're alluding to something with him anyway, and there's a couple of quite on the nose things. So some of the speculation is, and they kind of address it a little bit here, is that what happened in the cinematic trilogy with Palpatine and cloning and stuff like that this show is like lending itself to it. So the child in this case, they need the child's blood to be able to work on these clones of Palpatine. Right. So that's essentially what it's alluding to. Whether or not they actually go down that path, or they're putting up a little bit of a red herring or something right now, we don't know. We'll find out soon.
So next episode we are looking forward to is gonna be on Friday, every Friday. And we're probably going to be discussing this series as it goes on, and like I mentioned, there isn't that many other things going, but we have next episode. We already planned what we're going to be talking about, so I'll say it in a minute. I just wanted to say thank you very much for listening. Subscribe, rate, recommend our show. Please also recommend to your friends, to your enemies. They all deserve a little bit of us in their earphones or on the speakers. You can find us online at Blockbuster Spot, and tweet at us if you have any questions, or if you may be looking for a movie to watch. We're more than happy to respond and give you some recommendations. You can also find us on our private accounts, rdefaulter and at the Design Corner. On Letterboxd, we are the Blockbusters, and I will link everything in the show notes. That's where you find us. Our theme music is by Scott Holmes, and you can find more of his work at scottholmesmusic.com. Artwork for our episode or for our show is actually created by Connor Boyle himself, and the episode has been edited by myself. The podcast is available on Apple Podcast, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Castbox, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, wherever you want to find your podcasts. And so next week, I actually convinced Connor to watch 200-year-old movie. I hope he's going to watch it. Now I'm going to announce it. You have to watch it. It's not 200 years old, but it's one of the most iconic movies ever made, Citizen Kane, and we're going to be discussing Citizen Kane and Mank in one episode. The Mank is a new David Fincher movie that's going to be released at the beginning of December on Netflix. So we're probably going to have that, and we're going to have more discussion about Mandalorian as well.
Sure thing. And
maybe some other things that will come up later. But that's it for today. Thank you, Connor. That was the episode 26. We're going from strength to strength. Okay, take care of yourself. Stay home. Don't go anywhere. Don't buy beers.
Literally, I work here now as well, so yeah.
And again, thank you for listening. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
And like that, he's gone.
That's a short one. Like I said, I don't care anymore. Was it recording now? Stop.